Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Fast am I. Good evening. It's 5:30. This is Update for Thursday, lucky 13th of July 2023 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes to look at the latest news on the island. Background to that, news and sport, business, Sea Watch, travel updates, and the newsmakers in person this evening. More money for the Liverpool landing stage. Yes, more money. The latest on the Ranson tribunal. More Manx success at the Island Games today. The dead seabirds. Is it bird flu? Ultra-processed food is failing our school children, says MHK. And will Cav postpone his retirement?
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. Fastamai, Chanel Suku.
Fastamai. Tynwald will be asked to approve an additional £10 million for the new Isle of Man ferry terminal in Liverpool. Treasury will request approval to transfer the money from general reserves to top up the capital contingency budget. A Douglas man who put his mobile phone up a woman's skirt in a shop has avoided being sent to prison. The 41-year-old was sentenced today after admitting displaying provoking behaviour at Trend on the 3rd of September. And a number of dead seabirds have been found on beaches in the west and south of the island, prompting fears of a new outbreak of avian flu. In international news, there's questions about whether a series of pay rises for teachers, doctors, nurses and other public sector staff are enough to cancel strike action. Junior medics in England are still not happy with their 6% offer, but teachers who are getting 6.5% are ending their walkouts. Two 17-year-old boys have been sentenced to a total of at least 34 years behind bars for the murder of a teenager in a case of mistaken identity. 16-year-old Ronan Kanda was stabbed in the heart with a ninja sword in Wolverhampton in June last year. And Kevin Spacey has told a Crown Court that sexual assault allegations against him are madness, make no logical sense, and are a stab in the back. Those were your headlines. News at 6.
Man Benham. Contact us by phone, video call, email or face-to-face. We're happy to connect with you. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Goramaya, thank you. Chanel from the Ronaldsway Met Office. There's no wind warning in operation for the North Irish Sea. State of sea is slight, late to moderate. Tomorrow is another matter with rough seas and high winds. Anyway, this evening cloudy and bright, then some rain on a moderate south-southwesterly. Dry by dawn, the overnight minimum 12 degrees. Tomorrow the music begins, a cloudy morning with showers on a moderate southerly, turning east or southeasterly, top temperature 18. A dry evening and a strong southeasterly down to 13 through the night into Jasan. And Saturday's sunny spells, scattered showers on a fresh south-southwesterly, daylight maximum 18 degrees. Tides on the way back in. High water's 29 minutes past 9. A short while later at 14 minutes to 10. Sunset. Low water 14 minutes before 4 a.m. Sunrise tomorrow morning 3 minutes after 5. And the morning high tide at 20 to 10.
Manx Glass and Glazing can produce bespoke splashbacks for your kitchen in any colours. Speak to the team on 674 573.
There's been more success for Team Isle of Man at the Island Games in Guernsey today. Our man on the spot, sports editor Rob Pritchard.
Team Isle of Man have won more medals at the Island Games today in mountain biking, archery and tennis. In mountain biking, Sasha Hosthouse and Kiri Quayle secured silver in the women's cross-country team event, whilst the men's team took bronze. It was also a silver medal for the archers in the compound head-to-head knockout. I spoke to Aileen George and Rhys Moore, who already have 3 individual medals each in the sport already.
It's been a bit breezy, but it's been good, to be fair. It's been hot, everybody's been really friendly, and it's been a good laugh.
I've not competed at an Island Games since Jersey in 2015, so coming back and shooting with the team, there's some new faces since I last shot, so it's really good getting to know them all, and it was a fun week, but a windy week.
In tennis, Anna Kirk played a really strong semi-final match against Lauren Watson-Steele of Guernsey, but lost out on a place in the final during the third set tiebreak. Anna took a bronze medal. In the women's doubles, Sarah Long and Karen Farrago will be guaranteed at least a silver medal in tomorrow's final after winning their semi against a Jersey pairing earlier. And mixed doubles pair Anna Kirk and Sean Drury beat a Cayman Islands team 6-1, 6-1 to book their spot in the final of that event and will win at least silver themselves. Mixed doubles with a focus at the badminton today. Jessica Lee and Matthew Nicholson made it into the semi-finals, and Kim Clegg and Toby Cheng got through to the quarter-finals. In table tennis doubles, Carenza Baker and Catherine Venus made it into the women's doubles round of 16, but were knocked out by a Faroe Islands pair. Also today, Manx swimmers including Magnus Kelly, Robin Douglas, Benjamin Kebbell and Alex Turnbull qualified for finals this evening. In athletics tonight, Manx athletes Megan Lockwood and Tasman Fail compete in the women's hammer throw, and the men's and women's relay teams are in action. Also tonight, the Isle of Man women's football team face Bermuda in the semi-finals.
More details about an independent review into the Manx government's handling of the Dr. Rosalind Ranson tribunal will be discussed when Tynwald sits next week. The select committee formed as part of the review will present a series of recommendations, including the terms of reference for the review. The story from Sian Cowper.
Among its recommendations, the committee will call for the Manx Parliament to expect all government departments, boards and offices to give full cooperation to the review. It's also asking for legal privilege to be waived, an issue that was the subject of one of two High Court appeals relating to the tribunal. Tynwald will be asked to approve the committee's proposed terms of reference for the review. They include a commitment for the review to be entirely independent of Tynwald and government, and allowing the reviewer to consider events prior to April 2021, when Dr. Ranson filed her grievance with the tribunal. If the terms are approved, the reviewer will be required to produce a factual narrative of government's decision-making, including whether litigation was conducted appropriately and in good faith, and whether false or misleading documents were submitted to the tribunal. The reviewer will be able to liaise with Kate Brunner KC, who's heading up the previously established Isle of Man COVID review, as there is likely to be overlap between the two reviews, and a report must be submitted to the Tynwald Register of Business by the end of January next year. The committee, which consists of MHK's Daphne Kane, Stu Peters and Sarah Maltby, says it will oversee efficient use of public funds during the review and has committed to report the final cost of the review to Tynwald.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300.
There's growing concern about an increase in the number of dead seabirds being found on beaches in the south and west of the Isle of Man. The animals are currently being tested for bird flu, with the results expected next week. Chief Vet Dr. Amy Beckett says the risk to humans is very low, but don't pick the birds up all the same. Is she concerned?
Yes, we are concerned with the number of birds that have been reported to us washed up over the last 2 days. So we have sampled some of the birds and we're awaiting the results to come back probably next week. There is still ongoing situation in the UK with wild seabirds being testing positive for avian influenza. So it certainly is a concern. The main risk to human health would be for people that are working with birds on a regular basis and handling sick or dead birds with avian influenza, and they should take precautions such as wearing appropriate protective equipment such as face masks and gloves, etc. There's no concern about people eating well-cooked poultry and eggs. That is still perfectly safe to eat. And we are advising members of the public not to pick up any dead or sick birds and to keep their dogs away from them as well.
It's hoped the Manx missile Mark Cavendish could postpone retirement after he crashed out of the Tour de France, leaving him unable to continue chasing the record for the most stage wins. That story from Christian Jones.
The Manx missile had announced his intended retirement at the Giro d'Italia, which gave him one last shot at taking his total for the most stage wins to 35, breaking the record. He's currently tied with Belgian Eddy Merckx, who are on 34 each. However, tragedy struck when Cavendish British crashed out in Stage 8 of the Tour de France, leaving him with a broken collarbone and ruling him out of the remainder of the event, which he says he was bitterly disappointed about. It's since been revealed his team Astana Kazakhstan will offer him the chance to race next year, but that could just be wishful thinking, and for the moment Cav will likely be focused on recovering, having completed surgery, which he then took to Instagram to give fans an update.
So yeah, it's a break on the collarbone, but it's where I had some pins there before from an injury 10 years ago in the Tour de France, actually in Harrogate. It's a little bit more complicated than just a fracture and plate, because those pins were nothing to worry about. I'm talking a little bit more complicated. We're talking the difference is not going to be a week to recover. It's a few weeks, but we're all good. All good to go. Looking forward to watching the rest of the tour, watching the Astana boys. We had an incredible time, but I want to say a massive thank you to everyone for the well wishes, for all the love and the support, and that it's been wicked.
Sea Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
Mothership Ben McCree departed Heysham at 12 minutes past 2. She'll be into Douglas Harbour in the next 10 minutes or so. Departing this evening at 7:45, heading for Heysham, getting there about 11:30. The overnight departure at 2:15, back to Douglas at 6 tomorrow morning. The high-speed craft Manannan left Douglas at 3:15. She'll be into Liverpool while she's in the Mersey. Now will be on the link span in the next 10 minutes. Out at 7:15 this evening, back to Douglas at 10. And tomorrow morning's departure, 7:15, Manannan heads for Liverpool. 8:45, Ben McCree to Heysham.
Follow the Steam Packet on Twitter for the latest sailing information.
A man from Douglas who put his mobile phone up a woman's skirt in a shop has avoided being sent to prison. A story from Tessa Hawley.
Hassan Gogabakin of Queen's Promenade was recording when he approached the lady in a shop in Port Erin. The 41-year-old admitted displaying provoking behaviour at Trend on Church Street on the 3rd of September. He also admitted using threatening, abusive or insulting words or behaviour at the NSC in Douglas 2 days later. During sentencing at Douglas Courthouse, the court heard Gogabakin had entered the gift shop and begun filming the items on display before putting his phone under the woman's skirt. The video was recovered by police when they searched his device in relation to a complaint made by another woman who encountered him at the Douglas Sports Centre on the 5th of September. She was getting changed in a cubicle in the swimming pool area when she noticed someone was holding their phone underneath the dividing wall. The incident was reported, and Gogabakin, who's unemployed, told police he was using his shoe to hold his phone, but it had fallen off and he was retrieving it. Addressing Gogabakin's offending, his advocate said the phone had been put up the woman's skirt very briefly and taken a blurred image, adding there were no indecent bodily images captured. At the NSC, the advocate said his client had put the device underneath the divider for a few seconds and there was no evidence he'd been filming. He wishes to personally apologise for his inappropriate behaviour, he said. He does wish to commit to conducting himself more respectfully in the future. There is an identifiable need for professional intervention with this man, the advocate added. Sentencing Gogabakin to 4 months in custody, suspended for 2 years. Magistrates also imposed a 2-year suspended sentence supervision order, ordering him to pay £800 in prosecution costs. They told Gogabakin, "We do not take these offences lightly."
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 16 minutes before 6, the low-cost fitness operator, the Gym Group, reported substantial growth in membership and revenue in the first half trading update today. The London-listed firm reported a year-on-year revenue increase of 18.5% to £99.8 million for the first 6 months, ended 30th June, compared to 84.2 in the same period last year. It put the growth down to a rise in membership, with a total membership of 867,000 recorded on the 30th of June, up from 790,000 members a year earlier and 821,000 members at the end of December. For a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com. A US regulator is aiming to block Microsoft from proceeding with its $69 billion purchase of Call of Duty creator Activision Blizzard. Earlier this week, the Federal Trade Commission's request to block the the takeover was rejected by a district judge in San Francisco. The tech giant's deal to buy the game's publisher will be the biggest of its kind in the gaming industry, and Microsoft said it plans to fight the regulator's appeal, calling the FTC's case demonstrably weak. The FTC alleges the deal would hurt gamers and reduce competition by giving Microsoft, the makers of the Xbox, power to deny rivals access to Activision's games.
The Stock Market Report, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European stock markets closed higher. The dollar slumped as cooling US inflation bolstered expectations that the Fed will raise interest rates just one more time this year. Global oil benchmark Brent hovered above $80 a barrel, and gold fluttered around its highest level. The numbers from Ramsey Crookall at the close in London: the FTSE 100 up 0.33% at 7,440. The DAX in Frankfurt up 0.75% at 16,141. The Dow Jones just a short time ago in New York City barely up, almost 0.1% up at 34,377. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index up 1%, almost 1.1% at 14,069. In Chicago, the S&P 500 is up 0.5%, 4,496. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling trading at $1 30.9 cents, €1 16.9 cents, and 23 South African rand 53.5 cents. In commodities, gold fractionally down almost 0.1% down at $1,954 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude up another 0.4% at $80.46.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future for a house or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
This is the most listened to Isle of Man news source, and Manx Radio's Update is the Isle of Man's most downloaded news podcast.
NMHK says the Education Department's failing pupils by serving ultra-processed food in school meals. The Garth member Daphne Kane is calling for a review into the current provision after it was revealed almost 30% of food available at two island high schools classed as ultra-processed. She says it's not good enough.
It just boils down to, wouldn't we rather children in school had good, wholesome meals, not focusing on portion sizes and going hungry, but allowing those schools that do have the facilities to make their own school dinners. The point about starting in the primary school level, producing, growing your own food, understanding about the 7 a day, different colours, eating nuts, unsalted nuts as a snack instead of biscuits, makes a huge difference in what we put into our bodies. And understanding that good nutritional education in the younger years hopefully will make students have better informed choices in the secondary school. We're not saying never, that ultra-processed food is all around us. It's deliberately loaded with salt and fat, emulsifiers, and the way it's formed and moulding it. It's tasty and it's bulk, but it's not necessarily good for us. And having awareness, both nutritional advice, dietary advice, it's all part of a healthy lifestyle. People will always occasionally have a treat, but it shouldn't be, I don't think, part of our routine offering, particularly in the schools. It comes back to the Department of Education. I'm asking, will the Minister review the offering? I don't think this is working. I think we are failing children if we are loading 20 or 30% of the menu with ultra-high processed food. So can we please look at alternatives, and can we deliver more nutritional food in a better way locally?
Manx Radio Sport.
Pastor Mai, Rhiann Evans.
Pastor Mai, good afternoon. In football, FC Isle of Man is employing an official security team for next season. The club says the changes are coming into force following a few minor incidents last season, which resulted in a decline in steward numbers. The professional security team hired will provide 2 roaming security officers at each home game, bringing with them first aid, trauma care and training. Head steward Paul Quayle has welcomed the initiative, saying, "As a stewarding team, we are always ready to learn and develop. So with this extra help, we are really looking forward to providing an even better experience for Ravens fans and hopefully welcoming a few new volunteers too." And entries are now open for this year's Granite Man, the island's only off-road triathlon. It's taking place at the Kringle Plantation in the south of the island, with the swim happening in the reservoir over a 400-metre course. Athletes then move on to a 10k bike ride around the plantation and finish with a 5k run. Due to being so popular for the past 3 years, a duathlon is also being included in this year's event. All the money raised will go to the Children's Centre. Details on how to sign up can be found on this story at manxradio.com.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Guess what? There's an EasyJet delay to Ronaldsway, but it's not Gatwick. Inbound next, it's the 5 to 8 Loganair from Liverpool. The 5 past 8 EasyJet from Manchester is delayed at least for an hour and 15 minutes till 20 past 9. The Loganair inbound from London City at 8:30 on time, and the 25 to 9 EasyJet from Gatwick currently showing on time. Outbound tonight, 6 o'clock Loganair to Liverpool on time. The 25 to 9 EasyJet to Manchester delayed until 10 to 10 tonight. And the 5 past 9 EasyJet to Gatwick currently showing on time. On the roads, temporary lights on Estelle Road, Oncon for work on the pavements. Groudle Road's closed between Harbour Road and Fairway Close for gas upgrade work. Loudest Road, Andrus, got some resurfacing between the main road through the village and Larryvane Meadow. That should be wrapping up by the end of tomorrow. Garth Road near Foxdale between the Tosselby Road and the Foxdale Roads closed for bridge replacement work. East Quay Peel closed between the House of Manannan and the Road Bridge. 24-hour lights on Cumberland Road in Ramsey should be finishing by the end of this week. Ballymena Road in Jerby's got phased closures for water main replacement. Temporary lights on Victoria Road in Douglas at Falconcliffe Terrace, and Packhorse Lane in Baldryans closed for resurfacing.
H&H Motorcycles.im for all your motorcycle requirements. Southgate Industrial Estate, opposite Quayside Tyres. Call 665646.
Plans for the derelict Liverpool Arms pub are in the early consultation stages, but Heron and Brearley's confirmed it won't operate as a pub again. Our local democracy reporter Emma Draper.
Heron and Brearley has confirmed the Liverpool Arms will not be a pub again. Plans for its future were unveiled at last night's Garth Commissioners meeting. Andrew Bentley, the architect in charge of the development, said the brewery believes the venue would not be viable as a pub and would be a non-starter. The company instead wants to build 4 homes on the site with room for 9 parking spaces, 2 for each house and 1 spare for a guest. Currently, there is planning permission for 1 home. The pub closed in 2017 and has remained empty since. Discussing why the pub wouldn't work, Mr Bentley said that there are few residents nearby and there is completely unsuitable disabled access and no disabled toilets in the building. The commissioners raised concerns about affordability and whether the houses would be for first or second time buyers. Mr Bentley confirmed each house would fit in with the DOI's guidelines for first time buyers. The company says negotiations with other landowners to access drainage pipes will need to be completed before it can move forward with the development.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
A UK minister has promised to pass on calls for the Isle of Man government to apologise for the failings that led to the Summerland fire. Mike Freer MP, Parliamentary Under-Secretary for State for Courts and Legal Services within the Ministry of Justice, is visiting the island today and confirmed he'd convey the concerns raised in a Commons debate to the Chief Minister. Justin Madders MP, who has a constituent who lost both parents and a sister in the fire, told the UK Parliament why an apology is necessary.
I want to use this debate to encourage the Minister to formally write on behalf of His Majesty's Government to indicate their support for the requests made by the Apologise for Summerland campaign, which, as we have heard, are a public apology from the Isle of Man Government for the disregard for basic fire safety in favour of saving money and speedy construction, a public apology for the pain and suffering of the last 50 years, and a public admission that the death by misadventure verdict was inappropriate. I appreciate that this Parliament cannot tell another Parliament what to do, but I hope that the Minister will be able to diplomatically and sincerely make those requests and convey the feelings expressed by members in the House tonight, because it's clear that the conclusions of the inquiry fell short of the standards we would expect. They fell short of providing genuine accountability, and that there is a need for for an apology from the Isle of Man government for their role in this disaster. I hope the Minister will be able to convey on our behalf that as we are approaching the 50th anniversary of the disaster, that an apology is long overdue, and that the knowledge the bereaved families have that the loss of their loved ones could have been avoided is still incredibly painful, but the fact that the deaths are still legally categorised as misadventure only exacerbates that pain. So in concluding, Madam Deputy Speaker, I would like to pay tribute to the bereaved families who have never given up their fight for justice, to the Apologise for Summerland campaign for all they have done to give a voice to the families, and to Grenfell United, who are standing side by side by the Summerland families. Grenfell United have said the similarities between Summerland and Grenfell are chilling. We will never know if true accountability for Summerland might have prevented the Grenfell tragedy from happening. Sadly, there are far too many what-ifs that must torment all involved.
That's it for Update Tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Chanel Suku, producer Rianne Evans. Just a quick reminder, Tynwald members are going to be asked at this month's sitting to make additional contingency funds available to accommodate the final stages of the project to build the Isle of Man ferry terminal in Liverpool. Another £10 million transferred. More on that tomorrow morning on The Breakfast Show on Manx Radio. Stick around after the news at 6 o'clock. Fiona McCardle's here with Shackley. Chris Kinley with Greatest Hits at 6:30. Morris Powell with A Little Light Music at 9. And Rianne back with The Late Show after hours at 10. That's it from Andy. Back tomorrow at 5:30 with another update. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
WINT